Automotive. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Automotive.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy out, and I have a special guest here today in the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. It's my girl, Crystal DeSanto of Summit Toyota in Ohio. What's up, girl? How you doing?
Doing good, thank you.
Well, listen, I am super excited, but holy crap, you know, it is absolutely amazing that you have sold like 146 cars in a pandemic, in an inventory crisis with virtually no inventory. That's insane. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, Crystal, do me a favor. We need to turn around and really just kind of share some of the stuff with the members of our group here, because this is just mind blowing to me. So again, I am super proud of you. I mean, when we first started, when your organization was a Dealer Synergy client, you started with like 20 cars or 25 cars out of the department. To go from 20 cars to 146, that alone is crazy. But to do it under adverse conditions, what's your secret? Let's start there. How the hell did you do all this?
Well, obviously you guys helped, so we have to say that because there was the training and yay to Dealer Synergy. But yeah, it's just overcoming. It took us a bit of time, but yeah. And when you say no inventory, it's no inventory. Like we literally had a 4x2 Tacoma on the ground and a Corolla LE. That was it. Then it was all used vehicles. So there was nothing, but we've just adapted. So like we were discussing before, the rebuttals have kind of had to change. The process is the same as far as what we want to get out of them in the script, but we've just had to change the words. We've adapted to the fact that we do Facetime, Zoom, Google Meets. We do all these things with customers. We set that up with them. And it's not just like the old school, oh, do you want to see the vehicle? We can walk it around. There is no vehicle to walk around. So they're legit just sitting down with a sales associate like they were in the dealership. And I had to push for it in the beginning. Salespeople didn't want them. They thought they were a waste of time. I kept track of a whole couple months of the show rate versus the sell rate. After 2 months, salespeople are begging me for FaceTime appointments because that's how good they got.
Because you were a legit Toyota dealership in a major market in Ohio. So again, this is not like a little small store. I mean, like you're making moves to sell 146 cars out of the internet department with no inventory. It's surreal. So let's talk about this, what you just said. You have a process. So leads come through. Let's just say that I, Sean Bradley, I'm in the market for a 2022 Toyota Camry, right? So when the internet purchase request hits your CRM, like how do you have it set up? Whether you have a team of BDCs, but you also have these point guards, these salespeople. Explain what the infrastructure is like within the dealership.
So we've got about 5 people on the phones who will handle the lead when it first comes in. And then we have the 3 point guards that are there to TO, answer questions, so forth, get pictures if needed. But really when it comes in, it's just immediately handled. It's immediately called by the BDC and texted and emailed, obviously. And then once they get them on the phone, we're very careful of trying to answer questions, but also trying to say the sales associate's going to help you with that and pushing them towards coming in, but still maintaining that we're here to answer you. Nobody wants to hear, I'm not going to give you a price. You know, customers don't want to hear that nowadays. So it's a fine line, but they work well together. The salespeople have seen what's going on back here. They like it. So it's not like there's a weird dynamic. It's a great dynamic that works well with both. But in some situations like the FaceTime, we do have to prove it's working, or just like in the beginning when Dealer Synergy came on, we had to prove the point guard system's working. It's really just about showing your people the system and that it works for them. But the process is basically the same, I would say, as anybody else.
Well, let's talk about the dealer synergy systems. Use point guards. That's an internal jargon that we use at dealer synergy. Those mean those are salespeople that are on point. So, and the reason why, and I want to get your opinion on this, because I have a lot of dealers like you at first, like not you personally, but your store push back is like, salespeople get mad when they feel like they're losing something when they get the internet leads out. But I try to explain to them, it's not that we don't think the salespeople are smart enough or capable, but there's two main reasons why I think that if you handle the internet leads cradle to the grave, you're freaking leaving money on the table and you're stupid. Personally, I believe that because one, the vast majority of internet sales are not instant gratification. The average gestation period is post 90 days. You know what I mean? Especially now with the inventory shortage. So if you're emailing, phone calling, and executing a tremendous amount of follow-up activities, why inundate a commission-based person who's not normally great at that methodical continuity of follow-up when you could have an agent that's prepared, conditioned, and trained for that follow-up? Do you agree with that concept?
I do agree with that concept. And I also agree that if you want to benefit from the team, you have to play for the team and work for the team.
Yes.
So then if they want to get, all these appointments, you want my FaceTime calls and you want the used car appointments because the new aren't your favorite right now. Well, we're going to have to work for it. So it's the same thing. And they know that they affect my people's paychecks and my people know that they affect their paychecks. And it just works. So yeah, I get it. You might not want to sit down and grind and they don't love making the phone calls, but they've seen the benefits now.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute, like you said, when there's pushback in the beginning because we didn't prove it. Same with the FaceTime. Until once I prove it, then they're like, "Oh, great." That
brings me to my second point. I love the fact that you're doing FaceTime, Zooms, Google Meetings, because I've been preaching this. Girl, how long I've been talking about this shit forever, and everybody thinks I'm crazy until I'm not crazy anymore. So explain your process. So if Sean Bradley's looking for that, how do you how do you invite me or offer me to do a Zoom or FaceTime or Google Meet or something like that? How does that happen in the dialogue?
So first off, if you're calling from Ohio, then we're going to go straight, like we're trying to set a regular appointment. And then if you're pushing back, you don't want to come in, you're doing research, then we'll hit them for the FaceTime. If they're calling from out of state, we'll generally go right for it because that's what they want to do. So we approach it just like we're doing a same appointment. I'm going to have Dan reach out to you tomorrow around 1:00. He'll send you the Zoom link. And then you'll have a meeting with him. He'll be able to answer all the questions you want. You'll be able to spec out the vehicle that you're looking for, or if it's a used vehicle, he'll be able to show it to you, so on and so forth. And then with the salespeople, I tell them to approach it just like I've sent somebody into the dealership. I said it's the same thing as, when in the beginning, when they were first getting annoyed, but there's not selling a lot. I'm like, well, how many people do I set appointments for you that you don't sell? It's the same thing. Stop looking, look at it like it's a person here. I said, now what's going on in the industry is that you have this customer and most likely they're calling 4 or 5 dealerships at least because they're trying to find a Tacoma on the ground. They're not going to find it on the ground. The point is they spoke to 4 other people, but they saw you. They sat in front of you on a Zoom call. You built a relationship with them. It's created such a difference and they're going to remember that and it's working. So it's just basically just telling everyone to don't even think of it like a Zoom. It's a person's in the dealership. They're here. That's what you're treating it like.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, which I do because I helped you with this, right? I'm just wanting for our audience is that basically an up is an up. And
an up is an up is an up.
Once we're able to get the salespeople to get out of their heads and understand an up is an up, it's pretty much the road to the sale. If you're doing a Zoom, you get the entire road to the sale, the meet and greet.
Yes.
The qualified, the identifying wants, wishes, expectations, product presentation, features and benefits.
Exactly.
Everything you could do physically in the dealership, you could do on Zoom, you could do an Apple FaceTime or Google Meets. And I love what you said because people are like, I'm not selling cars. Well, wait a minute, slow down there, killer. What's your closing ratio for a fresh up that walks in?
Exactly.
So,
and I bet you if they look into it, their FaceTime is higher than their closing ratio for walk-ins.
Yes.
So they have to pay attention to that.
And Crystal, I love what you also said is that when they're talking to all these other dealers, all these other competitors, which they are doing, they're not getting that experience. You're differentiating yourself. You're building value in yourself.
Correct.
I think,
well, like you said, it's like the whole thing, like they're here, they're doing product presentation, walk around. The other guy on the phone is not doing that. He's giving you a price. He's telling you it's going to be 4 to 6 months. Do you want to get on the list? That's what he's telling you. And instead, my guys have built a rapport with the people that are willing to do it, obviously. But people seem very open to it. We haven't got any pushback from customers about it. They seem like, oh, excited. They don't have to come in or drive from out of state.
No, I absolutely love this, Crystal, because to me, this is very, very relevant to now. I'm going to repeat this for people that might be listening, is the fact that we have a BDC director at a very high caliber who is at a Toyota dealership. She took her store from doing 20, 25 units a month on the internet to 146 units in the middle of the pandemic with no new car inventory, with literally 2 new cars in ground. So how do you overcome that? So again, I'm the prospect, whether you want to do a role player explanation, is how do you get somebody that's coming in on a new Camry or a new Tacoma that you don't have in stock? How do you flip into selling them something else? How do you do that?
Well, I will say one thing. I think Toyota customers, we have a little bit of an edge. Because they're pretty much well educated. They've educated themselves on the market. They've educated themselves on the vehicle. So that's a good start. So then we can just be straight up honest with the customers. We tell them what's going on. We tell them that there's a waiting list. It's really hard to find a vehicle on the ground, that the best bet is to put a non-refundable deposit down, get themselves on the list. So then we explain, what we'll do is we'll set up an appointment with you to come in, sit down with the product specialist. You'll still spec out the entire vehicle you're looking for, whether it be the accessories, the colors, so forth. They'll be able to tell you about they'll be able to tell you exactly, I should say, where you are on the list once you choose the trim level, whether there's 1 person ahead of you, 5 people ahead of you. And then you can go from there. You decide to put your deposit down. So it's just like you're working the car deal. One thing that's helped as well is the majority, not all, but we do have a good rental fleet, the track department. So we've really been using them for test drives. And it really also helps with appointments because you can't just walk in, because you don't know if my rental's going to be here. So that helps our department as well. Hey, listen, I do have a Sienna that's in my rental department. You can come in, you can test drive that. You can make sure this is a vehicle you like before sitting down with the product specialist.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. We've used, I've printed out exactly. We've got a relationship with service where we call, hey, is the RAV4 in today? Can I set, we go back and forth with each other. So that's helped because there's something. Or we also pitch to a newer pre-owned. If we have that, let's test drive something. But then it's just, we basically on the phone just tell them what they're going to expect. We tell them that it's going to be $500 non-refundable. We tell them it's going to be 4 to 6 months. Certain vehicles could be 8 to 12 months. We have to tell them. We're just straight up honest. So when they come in here too, I think sales is noticing that as well. We've overcome a lot of those rebuttals already for them, which is already great in this business, but in this market, I think it's even a bit better. Really just about laying down the process, being honest with the customer. That's all it is. I mean, I know that there's certain dealers, because we get calls that are telling them they have stuff on the ground that they don't, or they're telling them they're selling an MSRP. And then when they get there, there's, addendums to that MSRP. And I think we're really reaping the benefits of just being honest with our customers from the beginning.
Okay, so let's talk about challenges. So obviously inventory is a challenge and price is a challenge. Before we tackle those, are there any other challenges as it relates to selling cars? I'm not saying employees, internal and things like that, or HR, staffing, but just dealing with it. I think the thing that I'm hearing resoundingly all over the country is inventory is horrific, and, some people are stressed about the pricing. So can you think of anything major besides inventory pricing that you have to deal with at your Toyota dealership?
I would say too, you would think inventory wouldn't apply to pre-owned, but it kind of does, because when we used to be able to flip somebody to pre-owned, well, now that vehicle is almost as expensive as a new one. Yeah. And so it's really hard to convince a customer to go that route as well. So it's really a majority of it is just overcoming the inventory. And then it might not be necessarily as motivating for everyone, but as soon as you can teach them how to overcome it and show them they're still making, the same amount of money and so forth. I think that is the main ones. The leasing we talked a little bit about too. That's a little bit of a struggle.
We'll hit leasing in a second. Let's nail them in order. We're going to start with the inventory. How do you build value in the exact situation you said? If somebody's coming in on a new Tacoma and you're trying to flip them to a pre-owned one, which is just as expensive or sometimes higher, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, so how do you do that? What do you teach your people to say? And what do you feel works the most? Now, nothing's a silver bullet.
Yeah.
But what is the best thing that you've seen that works that you train your people to do?
The best thing is just when they've the customer, you hear them balking at the wait on a new one, is to then kind of ask them questions and figure out, well, how quickly do they need it? Because if somebody got in a crash and needs a vehicle tomorrow, guess what? That expensive Tacoma is looking real good. That's on the ground. You know what I mean? Or they're just so sick of their car, or there's another baby on the way. I mean, you just have to talk. Yes, you're going to get them customers that just, I'm willing to wait, or I'm going to call around until I find that one that the deal fell through and it's on the ground. But no, you just have to ask questions. And once you ask the proper questions and figure out how long the customer is willing to wait or what their needs are, you can go from there.
No, that's great. I don't know if you saw, I just did a masterclass the other day on qualification. And I think that's really important, is that if you don't ask the right questions, if you don't know, then you're not going to be prepared to present the proper value. Value doesn't just mean the price. Value means the scenario, anything that could equate urgency or relevance to why they should buy a car today. So
yes,
I commend you on that.
Good way to say it. Exactly what I was trying to say. Yes.
I got it though.
You just put it in Sean words. Thank you.
What about the pricing? Are you selling at over sticker or just sticker?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention auto dealers. You need an opportunity to do business. AutoWeb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. High quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. AutoWeb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and/or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need AutoWeb.
We're selling it. I think we have 2 vehicles, a RAV4 Prime, which is really hard to get in Ohio, and a Prius Prime. I think 2 of those and TRD Pros are like a little bit over. Other than that, that's one thing that's helping us, is we're one of the only dealerships at MSRP. So that helps too, because customers were like, okay, I understand you want to do your research. They'll push the rebuttals, they get pushback, and then my guys will tell them, I completely understand. And then they wait about a day and a half, and they call them, and things change because the customers have done their research and they realize. So that is helping us as well too, that we're at MSRP.
Okay, good. And I know a lot of dealerships that are at MSRP as well. Right. And again, I can't tell a dealer what's best for them, and because what their market is and what their financial situation is. But for you, we're identifying a successful BDC director and a successful department. I mean, again, if anybody just logged in or is listening to this, this is a woman who is freaking amazing. Sold 146 cars out of her inner department with no inventory. She's got an amazing.
My crew did, but thank you.
I just about to say that. I said she's got an ass-kicking team, that's crushing it. But we're just building the profile. Now let's go into the leasing thing. Okay, because this is a challenge, and I want to know how you overcome it. Is that there's people that are coming in and they're like, man, screw this shit. I'm gonna extend my lease. Do you have any rebuttals or responses for that? Like, I'm going to extend my lease instead of buying something newer from you?
Well, so from our department, because we're going to handle it differently, we can still play come in, we have to take a look at it. There might be more value in it than you're aware of, and things like that. So on this end, it can be a little bit different because we can still just play trying to get them in, as long as we're aware of certain manufacturers that won't let us buy out, and we're not going to bring people in just to waste, we'll be honest and upfront with them about that. But other than that, we do that part. And then we leave it mostly up to the sales associates. I mean, I know they have issues, but there's been times where the dealership's bought out the vehicle and then sells it to them and things like that. We try and go around it, but really from my department, I'll be honest with you, I try and have them handle it the least. I don't like them. I think you're getting into weeds there if you start getting them to look up that information. They're really good about saying, I don't handle that much. You're going to have your vehicle appraised by our used car manager and sit down with a product specialist and see. You never know. But we also do lease buyouts, so you can come to us for that as well. So either way, we're kind of approaching it like come to us and let us do the research for you, basically. Let us value your car. Let us call the banks. Let us call the manufacturer and see what we can do.
All right. So still stay on the lease subject here. For Toyota, there are different types of buyouts depending who's buying it out. If it's the customers buying them on their own, whether it's the dealership, or does Toyota allow leases to get bought out? Let's say you lease somebody at Summit Toyota, which is your dealership, and they decide that they want to go to a Ford dealership, somebody else. From my understanding, the lease rules are crazy now. Lease buyouts are crazy. Can you share?
They are, and they're constantly changing. So to be honest, I'm not 100% sure because that's sales when that happens. I think they can still go to somebody else but I'm going to be honest, I don't have all the answers to that because that's more once it gets up into sales, and we try to, like I said, stay out of that part of it. But yeah, I know that there's all kinds of issues, but I know it changes regularly. I know just the other day, there was a question about, we had to work with customers because it was about when their lease was up and it was all the dates. And when you called Toyota, we were getting two different answers. So it's tough right now. And I think the best thing to do with that is handle it on a case-by-case basis. Again, be honest with the customers and tell them, let's do the research together and just go through the process. And a lot of them don't want to come in and do it, and that's okay. We'll do some of it on the phone, but I think really pushing the fact that we have to see their car, let's start with that. And then once they're in the door, we just let the others take over.
Okay. Now, Crystal, I want to redirect for a second here. What I find really intriguing with you and your organization is that you have done it the right way, in my opinion. Okay. Again, when you look at the 16,500 franchise dealerships out there, some of them have, salespeople handling the internet leads from cradle to grave. Some of them have BDCs. I think that you could have moderate success if you do either or. But what I feel is I've unlocked the Da Vinci Code, metaphorically speaking. I think the hybrid model, when you have internet coordinators, BDC reps, and you have salespeople, not random, but strategically, we call them point guards. You call them point guards. In your opinion, how much better has it been when you have a joint team where it's not us or them, Bloods and Crips, showroom, internet? There's a hybrid, integrated, strategic infrastructure. Can you talk about that?
Well, I think you said it right there. It's not us and them is really what it boils down to. That was one of my biggest fears coming into this position, because I always hear the horror stories of the BDC versus the sales. So it's something I took pride myself in not letting happen, but I really honestly believe your process helped with that, because it made us have to work together. It made them see the benefits, reap the benefits. It helped the other salespeople see that. So instead of it creating this animosity, it really had us work together. And the point guards are considered like part of the BDC team. Like there's just like, if we're going to go out and do an activity as a group, they're included in it. So you just become one big team. I think it makes a big difference.
So I need a favor then, right on the air right now. I have some clients that are struggling with the point guard system, because they're letting the Indians run the reservation, so to speak.
Yeah, and there is a struggle too, because the other salespeople probably are looking at it going, what the heck's going on?
So can you give some advice? Because you went through this transition as well. There was a point where when we first started, it was like, oh, I don't really understand this. And I fear that, I'm losing something. What advice do you have to other Dealer Synergy clients or soon to be Dealer Synergy clients about the point guards? Like, how do we get the point guards to do their job and the overflow people, the rest of the salespeople, not sabotage them and be pissed off and feel like they're losing something out? How do we serve the organization and be fair, but be profitable?
Well, I think, first of all, just like anything, you're going to get some pushback, and it's proving to them it works. So again, I know I've said that before, but it's just showing, hey, follow me, trust me, give me a couple months of your time, and let me show you what this is really going to do, and then do it, obviously. I think that makes a huge difference. And then I think at the same time, too, the other salespeople are getting a whole lot of trickle down appointments. It's just going to happen. And so when I can pull up through my CRM, I can pull up a report that shows how many people everyone spoke to and where that lead came from. Did it come from the internet? Did it come from a phone up? Did it come from a showroom up? So just recently, I brought that actually to management to show them it actually evens out. If you look at everything, because of the trickle down effect, everybody in this dealership is getting in front of pretty much the same amount of people. My people probably have a bit of an edge because they're working with us directly. They can contact the customer and so forth, but as they should, because they make the calls for it. And then that's what they start to see. Okay, I'm reaping the benefits. Everybody else is still doing good, but I do a little bit better because I make these calls. Again, you're not going to convince everyone it's going to be the best thing they've ever heard of right away. You have to prove it to them. But if you're willing to do that and ask them for those couple months, it'll show. It'll show in your reporting. It'll show in their paychecks. It just will show. And if it doesn't, you're probably doing something wrong. Look at what you're doing and reevaluate the process and try it again because it works.
I love it. All right. So as we wind down here, because I wanted to just pick your brain for a little bit, I'm just so impressed with what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Are there any other things that you're doing besides Dealer Synergy? I mean, I appreciate the plug, but I mean, like, you're a beast at what you're doing. So is there any technology you're doing, any resources, any websites, any tactics, any strategies, anything that you're doing right now that's helping you to be successful in selling appointments and selling cars? I just want to give the audience just some extra advice and resources.
Yeah. I mean, things that we do different, very important to me to maintain a good work atmosphere. I think that's a huge. I don't think anyone should hate where they're working or not have fun while they're at work. If you're having, and not saying goof off because I am pretty strict, but if you're having fun and getting your work done, you're just going to sound more confident on the phone. Training, whether it's Dealer Synergy, we do tons of Dealer Synergy training, but we have a game room, that I was talking about, there's all kinds of games they can play that get them better, and they play against each other. So there's two things. You're getting the benefit of constantly training, which I think is important, not just for yourself, but for your confidence. But when you're also training with your coworkers, you pick up on things they do, just like you do when you sit in the room and you hear them on the phone. So I think coming up with different ways to train and
let's go back to that, because you're saying games. I know what you do, but a lot of people don't. And I'm all over the country, and most people don't use games. And you need to share this because I think you're brilliant for this. So what type of games do you do? No, for real.
So we have a separate room that's got tables, and they're actually teams. So we have like funny little names that have to go, that go on the desk. So they each have their team names. So there's a little bit of competition there as well. And then I have it set up. We have a dice game where the rules are right in front of all the dice, and it's a snake eyes game. So basically you roll the dice, and whatever you roll, it tells you on the list what you have to do. You might have to go over the entire script. You might have to give me a rebuttal for a trade vehicle. It just goes on and on with all the dice. Then there's the card game where you're picking a card, and depending on and again, the rules are all written in front of you. You pick a number from a card, and whatever number you pick is a question you might have to answer regarding a script, regarding a phone up, regarding a call out, whatever it may be. We also have rebuttal ball, which is a ball that they actually throw to each other, and where their thumb lands is a rebuttal that they have to give. And that's a good one for them to hear what the other one says. And then I was just telling Ellie today, I just bought mini Jenga, and I will be adding mini Jenga, and each cube that you pull out will have a question you have to answer. And then if you knock it down, you have to say the whole script front to back. So there's things like that it just,
so, wait a minute, stop.
I also have things printed in there, but they go in and they read, can only go so far. I want them to have fun. and challenge each other.
I've got to stop right for now and just give you your flowers, girl. I've been doing this a long time. I'm a national trainer, and there are very, very few managers, especially at a high volume internet department like you do. You realize that selling 46 cars is literally almost 50% more units than the average freaking dealership in the United States. Your department sold with no inventory in a pandemic, and yet you still have time to be creative and to come up with all these. How do you do it? How do you find? That's another question. Like, you know, you're a mom, you're a wife, you are a director. I mean, and then you're freaking being creative with freaking, you know, training Jenga. Like, how the hell you juggle all this shit? How do you do all that stuff?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, it really boils down to, if you want to make something happen, you make the time for it. So yes, when I came up with this idea, and part of the game idea came from wanting them to redo their pro pay plan tests and how I was going to get them there. And I wanted to come up with a money incentive. And that happened at home in my living room. And then I came in the next day and pitched my husband. So yes, am I going to say you can be just a 9-to-5 person and make all that happen? No, not always. You have to be willing to think about things in your living room and pull up your computer, or when you're picking up your daughter or taking her to volleyball practice. It just happens. Same thing as we've talked about when we're getting involved in the community. Involve your things in things you're already doing. So it's just kind of like I'm running around, but I'm sitting in the car waiting. This is the time to come up with things. And it's just I'm one of those people that I'm okay with coming up with 20 ideas and 18 of them being horrible. And that doesn't affect me in the least bit. And I think some people get scared of having 18 bad ideas, or their boss telling them 18 times that was a bad idea. No, I thrive on it because I'm like, well, I'm going to get that good idea. And I get it. So I think you just have to be willing to do that too.
You know that Babe Ruth is one of the most incredible baseball superstars of all time. They got a candy bar, Baby Ruth, after him, right?
Yes.
Because he's got, you know, one of the best home run averages ever, but he also has the most strikeouts. If you think about that, this is true.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. I love that you just told me that. I'm going to use that.
Yes, no, it's true. You could Google it. He has one of the most amount of strikeouts. But think about it.
Exactly.
He used to point out to the crowd. And
yes, I remember that.
And then he would say, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to put it out there. But he swung for the fences. You can't crack home runs and have home run records if you're not swinging for them fences. If you're a punk and scared and you're just bunting, you're never going to hit home runs.
Yeah, or you get all scared when you strike out. Like, I love that you told me that, because the fact that he struck out so many times didn't deter him, which it does for a lot of people.
Yes.
That I'm going to use that. That's so great, because that's exactly my mentality. And I tell my people that too. Bring me things, tell me things all the time. I'm going to shoot down a ton of them, but trust me, there's going to be some gems in there and we're going to use it. So I think that's what it boils down to.
And I'm going to say one last thing, and then we're going to let you close out your month, because I know you're busy as hell, is this. If you want the things that the average person doesn't have, you've got to be willing to do the things that the average person isn't willing to do, legally, ethically, morally speaking. Meaning, is what you're saying, to be able to do the work-life balance, to do all this shit. It's not easy, but why don't people lift weights? Because they're heavy. I get it. Why don't people do what you do? Because it's not easy. But that's why, Crystal, you have crushed it with an amazing team. And I'm sorry, but success starts from leadership down. Okay. And you have the team that you have, and the success that you have is because you are an incredible leader. And I want to end on that. And
that was nice of you to say, Sean.
Real recognizes real. That's it. I mean, I'm not making shit up. I mean, like, look, you'd have to be, LA is blind and he can see this clearly right here. Which is great. We're going to hell for that joke.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Everybody in the Millionaire Car Salesman, know this woman, Crystal DeSantis. She is amazing. Summit Toyota. Follow her.
I gotta go. Synergy Records honor before money.
Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me.
And Sean V. Bradley.
Follow me. Follow me. Follow me.
Now I'm the blind master. You see my name is hanging in the rafters. You car quick, but y'all, I move faster. Your best bet's to follow in my tracks, bruh. Start with that wax stuff. All you need is be simulated and Bradley on demand on the world stages. Kinda like Ali, I'm the world's greatest, and the champ is here, I'm the world's latest. The fans love it when I make beats, I be like, and it sounds so sweet. You now rocking with IS-20G, so much fun, I'm coming back in 23. Yo, follow the movement. All the millionaire car salesmen know how we do it. KB, it's showtime to shine now. All the automotive superstars sing along.
Follow me. Follow me. Why don't you follow me to my page? Follow me. You can read all my tweets. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is sponsored in part by Autoweb. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.